to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Bring myself up like that, push the button, and voila, we appear. How are you, folks? Hope you're having a bloody good sort of a Thursday. You might be a little nervous. There's a bit of nerve in the air at the moment with what's going on in the world, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. There are a few issues that are interestingly coming to a bit of a head in certain parts of the world. I'm finding it pretty interesting to see just how much information is being let out at the moment. Now, there are many people who don't have the eyes to see, and thankfully, it appears more and more of them are waking up every day. And I'm sure in your circle of friends, family, you are being asked more and more questions. In fact, I've been talking to some of you in the last few days, and that seems to be exactly what's happening, which is great. But I've had recent experience with somebody who's just waking up to new things, and it's made me a little introspective and made me reassess the way that I approach these people, particularly if they are getting into this space, which is coming on and trying to tell you what's going on in the world. I've had a very interesting time, as I guess many people have, trying to get a hold of Madison King. And the only reason I have an interest in Madison King would be that I believe she speaks, well, when she first came on the scene, she was very exciting. She was very motivating. She spoke directly to Black and white Australians and made us feel like a family. I was very impressed with her. And I thought, great, let's see whether or not we can help her attract a bit more of an audience, and would love to have her on this program for that reason. I've tried, I don't know how many times, to get in contact with her. I've sent messages. I don't have a phone number, but every social media, I've rung her business and left messages. So, yeah, you know, it's strange. Anyway, I left a message on a post of hers on Facebook the other night. And yes, it did have a barb or two in it because I'm sick and tired of reaching out and being ignored. I didn't get ignored this time. I was left in no doubt as to what sort of person Madison is. And it's a bit disappointing. I've got screenshots, but there's no point in bringing up any of that. What it woke me to was the fact that when new people come into this, when people who are just making discoveries that we made, some cases years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and they begin speaking and telling the truth as it was, I'm very keen to help them learn. I would give more information, provide a few more rabbit holes, and let them do a bit more research if they really want to find out the dark and evil stuff. And she's recently seen what she believes to be some dark and evil stuff. Well, I can show her some stuff that'll make her hair fall out. And if she thought what she has seen is bad, she's got a long way to go in what is actually going on in the world. And that's why I figure her reaction, to a point, I'm not going to excuse it because her reaction was ridiculous. It was abusive, put it that way. But I'm thinking back to when I was just discovering the things that she's come across and starting to believe that they were real. And I don't know, I probably would have been a bit short with somebody who'd sent a message like I had to. So I wish Madison all the best. I hope her journey continues. I hope she doesn't stop learning. I did think that she was potentially a leader. I don't want to use that word, but she has the ability to show people a new path. And I thought she had been doing that, a unified path, a black, white, together, we are family path. And that is the face that she was projecting. Recently, all that's changed. She's become a lot more polished in what she says to the camera. And it's very easy to do that when you're recording everything. One of the reasons that I think that she's probably not, and I don't think anybody has done an interview with her, except maybe Michael Gray Griffith, I have an idea. And it wasn't what you'd call a wonderful interview. So whether she got struck by nerves or I find that people who do not want to be interviewed generally do not know much about the topic they've been speaking publicly about, and certainly don't know enough to wing it in a one-on-one or whatever kind of an interview and explain what they know, because they're still not confident in it. And that's only right, because if you've only just discovered some of the abuses that are happening with this deep state, then you've got a long way to go, because the ones you've discovered are gentle by comparison, very gentle by comparison. So good luck on Madison on her journey. I hope she can bring people together. I think it's become pretty clear to me, at least, why she's not part of Gerard Rennick's party anymore. I think Mr. Rennick would have found her a little difficult to deal with. But that might change. You never know. She might find another political flavour that she's going to go and bounce into and try and make a difference for. And God knows there are many people out there who are trying to do that with One Nation. Many people have lined up, put their hand up and said, yes, I will stand. They believe in what Pauline and the team are putting forward, and they believe they can make a difference. God bless every one of you. Now, there is a process that everybody who wants to be a One Nation member or wants to be a candidate for One Nation in South Australia, in the Victorian election, and I guess in the federal election when it comes up in a couple of years' time, a lot of people want to be part of that. So there is a process. You've got to fill out a lot of forms. I don't know. I've only been through one party selection process, and I had to fill out a very detailed document, essentially about my history. But that party was Australia One. So Ricardo and crew wanted to know the ins and outs of a duck's, well, you know, and I'm happy to provide it. I got nothing to hide. But it was an interesting, a very interesting exercise. And I'm sure One Nation's exercise to become a candidate would be similar. They'd want to look at, and I'm guessing here, they'd want to look at your social media. They'd want to talk to previous employers. They'd want to know people you got along with and people you didn't get along with. They'd want to know whether or not there's something that's going to pop up in, you know, down the track that is going to embarrass them and One Nation, potentially damaging their campaign. And they have a right to know those sorts of things. So I know that a number of people who have, well, I can certainly think of 3 people that have put their names forward to be candidates, 2 in Victoria and 1 in a national sense when it comes up. But the 2 in Victoria have already applied, and they are bloody good people, folks. I hope the selection process gets them through, and I'm sure that there are many more people that I'm unaware of who are sticking their hand up for One Nation too. So all power to you. Good luck, and I hope that life, the universe, and everything improves for us all. It's probably not going to do that in the near future, though. Say hello to a few people. Tony was first in the house tonight. Vincenzo has joined. He's going to be putting up a few comments. I might get him in for a chat in a little while once I get through a few pieces here. Toxic, lovely to have you in, dude. And the wonderful Aussie Sue, who always tells us to please give us a thumbs up. Share the show. Subscribe to the show. And share tonight's, because, well, it may not be on after we finish tonight. So we're going to talk a bit tonight about some of the strange goings on with this conflict. We can't call it a war. Only Congress in America can name something a war. So we're going to call what's happening in Iran at the moment a conflict. And it has become exceptionally clear to anybody with eyes and ears that Donald John Trump is not running this war. The President of the United States of America has very little say in what is going on, in this conflict. Benjamin Netanyahu is very definitely running this shit show, and it is quite a show. Now, I played something for you last night from one of his government ministers, a well-respected long-term Zionist in the Jewish parliament, who was making a speech in the last few days saying, oh, well, Iran's sorted now, but now Turkey is the problem. Is it just me, or are you seeing the fact that Israel is taking this opportunity to clean up the Middle East, what it considers to be cleaning up the Middle East? I think it's pretty disgusting, the way that they're going about it. But there are so many interesting historical oddities, let's call them. For one, let's go back to 2018. Now, in 2018, Pete Hegseth, the Minister for War or whatever he is, hadn't been named that just yet, but he did go to Israel and he made a very important speech.
And today, Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the Western Wall of the Temple Mount, the Western Wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle, 1948 was a miracle, 1967 was a miracle, 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle, and there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible. I don't know how it would happen. You don't know how it would happen, but I know that it could happen. That's all I know. And a step in that process, a step in every process, is the recognition that facts and activities on the ground truly matter. And that's why going and visiting Judea and Samaria, understanding that sovereignty, the very sovereignty of Israeli soil, and Israeli cities, locations, is a critical next step to showing the world that this is the land for Jews and the land of Israel. And I believe, as was mentioned, he said you need to, what was mentioned is you need to buy the ticket. Don't just wish for 40 years to win the lottery, buy the ticket. I would submit to you, in light of the support you have in Washington, D.C., the support you have amongst patriotic Americans, amongst evangelical Christians, amongst believers, amongst Republicans, even amongst some Democrats who can barely say it anymore in Washington. Buy the ticket, take your action, do what needs to be done here in Israel, because I truly believe this is a moment where America will have your back. You have Donald Trump in the White House, you have Mike Pence as Vice President, you have Nikki Haley at the UN, you have true believers in Israel and America that have your back.
I don't know that the American people were meant to see that speech. That happened in Israel in 2018. That's Pete Hegseth. The Minister for War today, the minister who, or what do they call him? I don't know. The Secretary for War, I beg your pardon. Well, the Secretary for War must be pretty happy. They've had some pretty big TV moments during this campaign. None bigger, I suspect, than blowing up an Iranian ship off the coast of Sri Lanka. And no doubt you've seen the vision. I won't bother playing it to you. Certainly very impressive. The first time a submarine has sunk a ship in the ocean in, well, since World War II. So no doubt the sailors on board that submarine will be chest beating and very proud of themselves. But is it making any difference in Iran? Does that sound like, arming prayers for remembrance of the Ayatollah? There's now a huge amount of evidence suggesting that Iran has no nuclear weapons, and that in fact the Ayatollah had said on numerous occasions over many, many years that they had no interest in gaining nuclear weapons. There was, in fact, an agreement between Iran, China, Russia, America, Israel, Austria, Turkey, a couple of other states I can't think of, and that deal was signed to keep Iran nuclear free. And it was signed by all of the big players: America, China, Russia, Korea, North Korea, that would be, not South. Yeah, quite a number of countries signed it. The French signed it. The Germans signed it. Nuclear-powered countries signed it. And Iran agreed to it. Now, this document dates back tens of years. But what happened in 2018? Donald Trump was in the White House in 2018. And what happened? Donald Trump tore that peace deal up for no apparent reason. It was all done very quietly. And it allowed then Israel to set forth on the path that it appears to have been chosen. There are consequences for making those decisions. This is vision from Tel Aviv. Now, there's no sound on this vision, but you can see that this is a street in downtown Tel Aviv. The entire street has been pretty much cleaned up. I get the feeling it may have actually been the site where this rocket came in. Now, this is a ballistic missile striking a building in downtown Tel Aviv that is supposedly part of the Mossad's command and control structure. So if that were the case, then maybe so. There have also been further developments in other parts of the Middle East, with more attacks happening in strange places. This was Saudi Arabia, and this is another look at some parts of Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv has taken a hell of a pounding. Israel has taken a hell of a pounding. We are hearing, but have no evidence of, nuclear power stations that have been hit with ballistic missiles, water desalination plants that have been hit with ballistic missiles, or drones. We are dealing with fires started by drone impacts at the world's largest refinery in Saudi Arabia. That fire is under control and it's in a small area. It's not going to affect too much by way of their oil production. And at the moment, that's probably okay, because if you have a look at this map, that is the Straits of Hormuz. Now, at the moment, the straits are, well, pretty quiet, I would have said. Now, anything that is green that you can see on that map is not an oil or a chemical carrier. That's a container ship or something else. Anything that is a red arrow is a oil or chemical container or chemical carrier. And some of those are the VLCCs, which are the very large crude carriers. They are the largest ships in the world. I believe there are 8 of them lined up on the outside of the Suez Canal waiting to get in. And there are a couple of them on the inside waiting to get out. And it is clear there are some who are moving to get out. Now, they're filling up You can see here in Kuwait and in Oman, there is a lot of cargo traffic just hanging around Iran. And of course, in Bahrain, what do we see here? There you go, another oil carrier just there. So this is the AIS system, Marine Traffic Tracking System. You can look it up yourself. It doesn't cost anything, and it can be pretty interesting if you want to zoom out and see where all the ship traffic in the world is. It shows you the position of every ship on the oceans, every ocean, anywhere in the world, as long as they have their AIS tracking system operative. Sometimes they don't. And that was the case for a number of these larger vessels, larger oil vessels that were on the outside of the Suez Canal. They turned their AIS trackers off and sailed through the Straits of Hormuz, and then turned them back on again when they were up deeper in the Gulf up near Kuwait. So America has now come out and said, you don't need to be worried, people. America is going to pay the insurance and, if necessary, escort lines of tankers through the Straits. The boast has been that Iran's navy is no longer existent. There has been another boast that Israel and America now own the skies of Iran. That means nothing can fly in Iran without the say-so, if you like, of the Americans. If it does, it'll be shot down. Although we've already proved that the Americans don't have much say in this. It's clearly being hyped and continued by BiBi Netanyahooooo and his Zionist crew, which is just making me sick. I think that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. They're talking about a ground war now, a limited ground war. They're going to have to put boots on the ground. Well, there have been boots on the ground already, and those boots are not wrapped in leather and patriotism from the United States. Those boots are wrapped in sheepskin. They are the Kurdish population. Now, the Kurds have been fighting for their part of the Middle East since World War I. The Kurds were left with nothing at the end of World War I and essentially became nomadic peoples who now live in sort of a weird bit of land that includes Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, a northern mountainous area in Iran particularly. And that has provided a very interesting corridor, I think, for a lot of America and Israel's ordnance to come into the north of Iran. I would say that the folks in the Kurdish groups have already got CIA and American special forces on the ground with them. They will be training, and the Kurds have been well trained for years. In fact, it's pretty well regarded that the Kurdish nation are the most honed, battle-hardened fighters in the Middle East, because since World War I, they've been continuously fighting to get their little patch of rock and grass. And trust me, it's a very little patch of rock and grass. So the Kurds are now in a position where they can help Israel and they can help America by providing the boots on the ground into Iran, with obviously a bit of support from the Americans and the Israelis. That support looks likely to be staying completely from the air, and only then if they can get themselves resupplied, because they have been flinging missiles over the borders into Iran with wild and gay abandon, to a point where they are now critically low. So low, in fact, that the Iron Dome over Israel is useless. It's, they've turned it off. The lights have gone out. And that's why Israelis are spending their nights and certain parts of their days, I'm sure, in the bunkers that they have in their buildings, hoping beyond hope that they don't cop one of these ballistic missiles in a direct hit. It must be terrifying for them there. But imagine what it's like for the Iranian citizens. They don't have bunkers. They've got holes in the ground and sticks and stones for the most part to protect them. The Ayatollah, well, I don't think he's worrying about too much anymore. And anybody who thinks they might be the Ayatollah will right now be buried so deep underground in a hole that nobody's ever heard. It's probably just been dug this week for him. He's going to be ducking for cover. And they're saying that it's going to be the son of the former Ayatollah. Now, if that is the case, we're in for a worse ruler than the one we had, because the son, the oldest son of the Ayatollah, first in line, if you like, has already got really good form for killing his own people, for harming, for torturing, for being a tyrant. So if Donald Trump and BiBi Netanyahooooo are to be believed, and I don't think Donald Trump is saying too much at the moment that BiBi Netanyahooooo hasn't put into him, they're making it pretty clear that they've killed the entire Iranian leadership team. They've killed the entire B team of the Iranian leadership. And as Donald Trump put it himself, pretty soon, we're not going to have anybody left that we know. And what he means by that is that there'll be no Iranians left in Iran that the Americans have had any kind of dealings with, diplomatic or otherwise, that they might support or indeed want to fight. Doesn't that leave a huge vacuum in Iran? Wouldn't the Americans have gone in with a plan if you're going to essentially create a coup environment, which is what they did? They got rid of the leader, and they are broadcasting propaganda into Iran constantly saying, rise up, take control. This is your opportunity. Has anybody stopped to think and ask why they haven't, in mass numbers, taken control? Why were all of the Ayatollah's mourners, and there must have been a good few 100,000 of them in that picture that I showed you there before, why are they still allowed to get out? And I mean, Israel must have a heart somewhere, because they could have dropped a bomb on that square and killed a couple of 100,000 Islamists, extremists. Or would they have just killed a couple of 100,000 mourning people? This war, this conflict, is all sorts of sham. It's also come out today that the drone that hit the Saudi, not desal plant, the petroleum facility, the refinery, did not come from Iran, and it did not come from Lebanon. A number of attacks inside Israel, including, it's hearsay at the moment because we're not seeing any pictures of it, attacks on nuclear power stations, attacks on desalination plants, and attacks on other nations' desalination plants, all told by the American press and war machine that, well, we were all told that they'd been attacked by Iran. Well, it's starting to show that Iran did not and would not have attacked those Middle Eastern nations and attacked things like their desalination plants or their nuclear reactors. And they've come out and said that. We have never targeted and have no intention of targeting nuclear anything or your desalination plants. They don't want to kill or, have them die of thirst, those folks that rely on that desal plant. Now, believe that if you will. I mean, you've got to take it for what it is. It is wartime, and the first casualty is truth, obviously, in war. But why would the Iranians want to lie about that? Well, we didn't fire them, and it's been shown. Right? It's been proved that they did not come from there. So if it's been proved that those missiles, those drones didn't come from Iran, exactly where did they come from, do you think? Well, right now, it's looking a lot like Israel blew up their own places and are trying to blame the Iranians. It also looks like Israel is very happily reaching out into other Middle Eastern nations and blowing things up there and blaming it on the Iranians, trying to drag other Middle Eastern nations into the war on Israel's side. Not one public toilet block has been hit, says Toxic. Yeah, this is a war of lies, folks, and I'm very sad to say Donald Trump seems to be on the wrong side of it. It's concerning. It's significantly concerning. We have a few significantly concerning things. Labor's given $670,000 of our money to grant a Melbourne Islamic group who mourned the Ayatollah. Now, I only saw that today, but I've got a funny feeling that the government have since had a rethink on that and maybe not handing over $650,000. They may possibly still hand over something. In fact, I'm sure that they will under the table in a brown paper bag at some stage, because they got caught trying to throw nearly another $1 million of our dollars into an Islamic funeral. I don't think Kerry Packer's burial would have cost $650,000, and he could have afforded it. Why that figure? Why would and it's a Labor, funnily enough, it's a Labor Party member who made sure that this grant went through, and it was the Labor Party who granted it, obviously. The Labor Party member who put it up obviously lives in the seat where this institution is. $670 million, our dollars, not theirs, ours. And they tried to quietly sneak it all in. There has to be a point at some stage, people, where we need to figure out when enough is enough. Because if we don't, we are going to be dragged into a war that we have no part in, but the war isn't going to be in the Middle East. It's going to be here on our shores, because their fighters are already here. And as has been advertised a lot in the last 2 days, this war is now a religious war. Marco Rubio said it. BiBi Netanyahooooo said it. Now that it's turned religious, this is a bit of a problem. But maybe will let us know how it's all done.
To blow up a bus full of children or a building full of innocent civilians, you have to grind it into their minds. You have to wash their brains and tell them there is a higher cause out there. It's religious, ethnic, racial, whatever. And for that higher cause, you can disregard all the normal rules of morality. Sometimes they have to be bombed into going to war. The bombing of September 11th opened the eyes of Americans to see the great conflict and the great danger that faces us. And once opened a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center.
Netanyahu said, quote, "We're benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack on the Twin Towers and Pentagon and the American struggle in Iraq." Netanyahu then reportedly said these events, quote, "swung American public opinion in our favor."
So I wrote a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center.
I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
Proud to say that no U.S. administration has done more in support of Israel's security than ours.
The United States stands with Israel, now and forever. We must stand with Israel.
Love Israel. I love Israel. I've been with Israel so long in terms of I've received some of my greatest honors.
4 months ago, I sent Prime Minister Albanese of Australia a letter in which I gave him warning that the Australian government's policy was promoting and encouraging anti-Semitism in Australia. I wrote they would do if right next to Melbourne or right next to Sydney you had this horrific attacks. I think you would do it, at least what we're doing.
That guy yelling out, "Stop funding Israel." I'm not sure if it's the same guy that was dragged out of the Congress in the last 24 hours. That guy happened to be a former U.S. Marine dressed in full dress Marine uniform, made his way into the Congress and started yelling about the war and how Israel is using America as a puppet, how Israel is controlling everything from the Trump administration. One senator or one congressman decided to get involved with the security who were trying to throw him out. And as they picked him up and got him out, he was trying to hang on to a door. This senator has somehow apparently broken the guy's hand. That's a very brave senator, breaking a Marine's hand. But they are desperate. They are desperate to make sure that that sort of knowledge is not shared to the American people. And they certainly don't want it yelled out in the US Congress with television cameras and microphones and very important people everywhere. You can get the look on the FBI director's face there. Kash Patel looks like he just had a fairly large thermos jammed up his jacksie. So there is a lot more going on here, folks. And I've told you before, don't be surprised if Donald Trump is the first arrest. Don't be surprised if BiBi Netanyahooooo and Donald Trump are the first arrests. There are now calls from China, as Donald Trump likes to call them. He wants to make sure that China can't be a problem for America. China are already a problem for America. They have at least, I would say, comparable military power. And they right now have a whole heap more tangible wealth than any Western nation anywhere. They are the leaders in this new financial order, which is in part what we're seeing, the destruction of the fiat currency. Now, you might think it shouldn't be that hard to destroy, but it's difficult to comprehend just how big this financial farce is. And can I tell you that the shipping companies have a lot to do with it. We think the banks are the bastards in all of this, but the deeper you dig, and when you get toward and practically to the bottom of the well, you discover that it isn't the banks who control the financial systems of this world. It is the insurance companies. And those insurance companies are now raping the world for as much as they can get because they know it's all over. They can't print money anymore. So now they've just got to get it whichever way they can, and creating wars and associated other bits and pieces will do it. We are going to find in the near future, I think, a lot of struggles from smaller countries who are going to find a lot of pressure from America and Israel to come and join. Australia has felt some pressure. We have sent military assets, although Albanese isn't speaking too much about them. He's saying we have sent assets to the Middle East to try and help facilitate Australians coming home. It's my understanding that 3 planes for Australia, bound for Australia, left Dubai this morning and are arriving today or this evening. Some may have already arrived. There are more flights planned overnight and tomorrow. These are not military aircraft. These are, from what I understand, normal wide-body flights. These flights are only leaving with the permission of those that control the airspace and making sure that nothing's, whether that be American, Israeli, or Iranian, flying around, so that the people carriers can get off. But if America truly does have air superiority, if they have air and ground superiority, but air particularly, over Iran, then there should be absolutely no reason why any of those airports are still closed, because Iran can't fly anything, can't shoot anything, because apparently they've lost all their ballistic missile launchers. The Yanks have gone in and cleaned all them up. Apparently they've blown up all the tunnels full of all the drones. I guess we'll wait and see what rains down on Tel Aviv overnight, but or vice versa. But I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that it is not Donald John Trump who has anything to do with this, well, controlling this conflict. It is entirely to do with Israel. Would it surprise you to learn that the recent visit by the Israeli, I think he's called the president, Herzog is his name. He came here, he went to Bondi, he basically passed on the message to be, fall in line, do the right thing, support the Jews, get rid of anti-Semitism. But what they are in fact doing is jacking anti-Semitism up every step of the friggin' way, the bastards. But would it surprise you to learn that the president of Israel had a quiet and very private meeting with one very important Australian bureaucrat? That one, the head of ASIO. A secret meeting. Well, it's ASIO. Isn't everything secret? But anyway, they've had a meeting. Now, I wonder, what would that meeting have been about? Israel advising our head of spies what's going on? Or maybe he was apologizing for the 2 Israelis who were caught in Dubai, I think it was, after murdering somebody. They were caught on Australian passports that were fake. Maybe he'd come and apologized for, making up fake Australian passports and sending Mossad out to kill people. I don't think so. Pretty confident they wouldn't have done that. Oh, Canberra Prime Minister was Canada Prime Minister was in Canberra today. Well, there you go. That's a bit of fun. Jinder Lee, haven't seen you for a while, brother. Good to have you on, mate. Great to have you back. Now, what else have I got to show you here? Oh, here's an interesting picture. Aussie politicians that look like other celebrities. I think this is a bit rude, but I got a bit of a giggle out of it. And Sarah Hanson-Young, what a piece of work she is, I've got to say. Rotten piece of work. But the best one of the lot is that one at the bottom. Now, I had a conversation today with somebody who had been up close and personal with Jacinta Allen recently. Now, this person had no reason to believe that Jacinta Allen wasn't what she portrayed herself to be, a moronic Labor person who is corrupt to her depth. But it turns out there might be a little bit more there, including the Adam's apple that's bobbing around underneath that chin of Jacinta Allen in Victoria. So, Victorians, have a close look. Keep an eye out. She could be another one like that, the head of the Reserve Bank of Australia. They try and tell us that's a woman. Eesh. Eesh. Very bad. Let me have a bit of a glance down here into the chat. What have we got here? 45 minutes. I've still got a few other things I can tell you about. Just see if there's anything worth chatting. Sandy, hello, Sandy Love. I saw that you have had a bad day today somewhere, but I didn't see why. So I hope you and Baz are doing all right. I saw your little video of Baz feeding out. The Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary folks always need your help, always need our help, and we can help only if you can help. So please go and get a ticket from our merch website, merch.vofhq.com. It's only $2 and you stand a chance to win $750. We would love to give it to you. Unfortunately, if you're in Victoria, you can't enter anymore because Victorians are unallowed to win anything. You can't have good fortune. We are not allowed to give you $750 because, well, the government doesn't get their slice of it. The government are very happy for us to give away $750, but they want to charge us many thousands of dollars for the permit, or they want us to completely redo the entire thing in a way that is impossible for us to do. So sorry for the Victorians. If you would like to donate, you can go and hit the donate button at vofhq.com and stick your $2 there. It would be gratefully received. And it is, yeah, very definitely going to be needed. Coming up in April, people might be wondering why I haven't gone to Victoria yet. The fact of the matter is, in Victoria, I was going down for the new grand jury that was going to be put on with the corruption whistleblowers. We're still trying to find a venue down there. I know that there have been some offers put forward, but I don't think that the venues are quite suitable. So when that happens, the plan is to head down. But if not, next month in April, the Victorian government is going to once again try and get onto Victorian farmers' land. This time they're going to force their way on and supposedly begin work on these transmission lines and towers that nobody in rural Victoria, in farming Victoria, wants a thing to do with. Not if they've got half a brain anyway. Of course, all the city folk, they don't understand that. They've never felt grass between their toes. They've never had dirt under their fingernails. And if they saw a cow, they would be petrified. God, it's going to eat me. Well, not the Indians. They just drop down and pray. But the others. At any rate, Victoria is rising up, waking up. Jacinta Allen today has discovered that her approval rating is well down. She is still 1 point ahead, or Labor are still 1 point ahead. I don't know how. Are still 1 point ahead as a preferred government. But the Victorian opposition leader, whose name escapes me, a young lady who most Victorians wouldn't recognise and have never heard either, she is making big inroads in Victoria. And I have no doubt that I'll have to learn her name in the not too distant future because she's appearing everywhere and saying really smart things. She seems to be reasonably awake to a point, and she seems to be very motivated to help Victorians get out from underneath this yoke of Labor, which if Jacinta Allen were to be re-elected in November, I think it would make something like 12 or 14 years, maybe longer, that Labor have been in charge of Victoria. Is it any wonder that the CFMEU and organised crime are as wealthy as they are? I have absolutely no doubt about it. I do have a couple of other videos here for you. One I will play because it's only going to take a minute. This is going to explain something about America and what it tells its own people. In the Middle East at the moment, there are thousands, tens of thousands of Americans trapped, be that, well, through airlines being closed down, airports being shut down, all that kind of thing. However, they want to help. America wants to help its people. So Rubio has been coming out and saying, listen, press, please advertise this Foreign Service phone number. We want everybody and anybody who is in the Middle East who can't get out. We need to know where you are. We need to know who you are. We need to know how many of you there are. So please advertise this phone number. This is Marco Rubio begging the press to promote this phone number so that trapped Americans can ring home for help. Watch this.
So Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged news organizations to put the 24/7 State Department emergency line out so that Americans who are stuck in the Middle East can get help getting out of the region, register their names and not. But listen to what happens when you dial the number.
Please do not rely on the U.S. government for assisted departure or evacuation at this time. There are currently no United States evacuation points. Please continue to check the embassy's website for updated information.
So,
in the event of ongoing...
the bottom line is, if you're looking for help, you're stuck in the Middle East and you can't evacuate, there's no help yet from the United States government. You can call that number, you can go through the website, you can register your name so you might get updates later. But the number that the Secretary of State gave out, what it does for you is it tells you right now that there is no help from the United States government in getting out of the Middle East.
Three planes today to Australia. One yesterday. I'm sure there's more of them getting out. In fact, I could probably bring up flight radar. We could see if anything's coming out of the airports now. There are 2 international airports in Dubai. I understand that in Bahrain, there is some apron damage at the airport there, which might inhibit aircraft movement, but they'll be working very hard to fix that. And there was some explosions in Abu Dhabi, but Abu Dhabi's airport, while it is an international airport, it is not the main port. Dubai is. So it's quite regular that people who would be going to Abu Dhabi would fly into Dubai, take the road trip, or catch a helicopter or whatever to Dubai from there, and vice versa back again. So I don't know that there's going to be too many flights heading out of Dubai anyway, but out of Abu Dhabi anyway. But out of Dubai, it shouldn't be a problem if, as they say, they have control of the air. If they've stopped the missiles from being fired, God knows, if they haven't stopped the missiles, then it's probably a bit dangerous to go flying around, because in the first retaliatory strike, Iran took out all their ability to see over the Middle East. The 2 huge radar installations that they took out in Bahrain and Qatar were designed to give a 5,000 mile, not kilometer, 5,000 mile range. And they could see everything from ground to infinity, essentially. But not for very long. Each one of those installations cost $1.2 billion to make as well, which made it interesting. All right, before we go, he's been such a wonderful bloke sitting in the background and throwing things up. I'm going to get him waving. And oh, no, he's waving and saying, no, I don't want to come on. Oh, put your clothes back on, Vince. God, don't wave that at me. God, that's awful. Bloody disgusting. Jeez, the things that people do not to get on the screen, I tell you. Lots of love for Vince in the in the chat. Don't worry, folks. He didn't take his clothes off. My eyes are still with me. I didn't get them burnt out. I've had an interesting chat today. I'm going to foreshadow something that's coming up on Monday night. Watch out for Monday night's show. It's going to be a very in-depth show, and it's going to be about the jab and associated other things. I've received a lot of documents today. In fact, we've all received them, I think, and you're probably going to hear a lot about this next week, but Monday night we'll have Donna on the show to discuss what she's discovered about the jab, and more particularly about what's in it and what it does and how it does it. So that's a show that you might want to sit down for on Monday night. I don't think there's going to be much comes out of it that makes you feel great, but you will feel a lot more informed and knowledgeable, and you may get yourself armed if we have to go back into this battle again. And speaking of battles, if this war is turned on its head, if Israel are able by deception to suck other nations into this fight, if Australia, for whatever reason, says we're going to get into this fight, now they've sent people over and assets over to try and get people back out of the country. I don't know what sort of assets they would be, Hercules or something like that to fly them out. I've got to say, a flight from Dubai to Australia in a Hercules would be a very uncomfortable proposition. But, plenty of the army guys do it. But, they're not known for their seating capacity or their toilets, should we point out. So that could be a bit ugly. We also know that there are some 80-odd Australian servicemen and women on the ground in Dubai. I can tell you that we do have military equipment on the ground with them, including things that fly and shoot. This is part of a regular deployment, if you like, to that area where certain squadrons are sent out and, work with other allies, if you like, in the area, and they might go for 6 months or 8 months or 10 months or whatever it is at a time, and then they rotate in and out. So that's essentially the people that we have on the ground over there at the moment, a squadron, and they're in a very safe area. As safe as you can be on one of the largest US military bases in the world. But Australia has a little corner of it, and as long as we stay out of the fight, I don't think we should have the fight brought to us here. But we've seen Benjamin Netanyahu tonight say, well, sometimes people just need to be pushed. Sometimes they just need to have a bomb go off near them to motivate them. Sometimes they just have to have a jihadi shoot up a beach full of people so that the government learns its lesson when they didn't learn it after I sent them a letter 4 months ago saying, be very careful. You're going to get extremism. And if you haven't woken up to the fact yet that there are more question marks over that Bondi massacre, and not to do with jihad, but more to do with Jews, then you need to do a lot more studying. The video I played you tonight should show you the Jewish political Zionist system is very, very comfortable in false flag attacks to bring other nations into a war that Israel started. Israel is the aggressor. Israel has always been the aggressor. They're just really good at playing the victim. Well, I hope, folks, that the world is waking up, because it seems, if it's not, our dickheads have migrated off the roads and are now inhabiting some of the more dangerous places in our society. Love your company tonight, folks. Thank you for the people who've rung me today. You know who you are. I've received a huge amount of information from all of you. Thank you very much. And there has been some discussions about the cruise. Now, Vince and I are talking about what sort of things we are going to put together for the cruise. If you want a T-shirt, we're going to need your size. So you've got to email me, carl@vofhq.com. Tell me what size you want, and I'll give you an idea. The shirts that I've got are 3X shirts, I think, and they are big on me. So they're big sizes, and they are really top quality shirts. But you just might, want a mug or a stubby holder or something. That'd be useful on the cruise. We're not sure what we're going to pull up together, but we need to, if you want clothing, we need to know your sizes. So please email me, carl@vofhq.com, if you're already booked on the cruise. If you're not, I believe you can still book on the cruise. Those who had pre-booked, if you like, had to be paid by February 16, I think it was. But that doesn't mean you can't get on it now, and you probably get on it cheaper than we did if they've still got berths. So go and check it out. It's the Carnival Cruise, leaving Brisbane, going to Airlie Beach and back to Brisbane. It's a 4-day cruise, leaving on the 4th of May. We'd love to have you on there. Tony's coming. In fact, Tony's going to come and park his car here, and we'll hold hands and go to the boat together, I think, by the way that's going. So it could be a lot of fun. Regardless, we will have a ball and we will be safe, because I'm pretty confident there are a lot less dickheads on the water. Well, unless you're in the Middle East.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!